First pose we're going to show you is the full face pose. As we've mentioned in the past, there are three poses: the full face, the two-thirds, and the profile. In the full face pose, you'll see later, the face will be straight into the camera. In the two-thirds, we're going to turn the head. Now, we'll turn the body also, but we're going to turn the head at a 45-degree angle, and later we'll turn the head at a 90-degree angle. Now, what you'll also see later is it's really one pose, and we turn the head and the shoulders together as one piece. I'll do it myself so you can see it. This would be a full face, this would be a two-thirds view, and this would be a profile. Now, if I take the camera and I put it over here, I'm really in a full face pose, the same pose you see here now. This is our model, Danielle. This is the same pose you would see, the face forward, not the shoulders this way, but the face forward. So if we had the camera here, the camera sees a profile from this direction, but the camera would see a full face. So we'll show you more of this later, but first we want to show you how to do a full face pose. Now, the first thing we're going to do is have Danielle turn her body 45 degrees. Now, an important thing to keep in mind is that your subject doesn't know what 45 degrees is. So you don't really say to them, "Oh, Danielle, turn your body 45 degrees." So you stand in front of them. You can't tell where I am in perspective of the camera, but you stand in front of them at a 45-degree angle to the camera. Everything is in relation to the camera. And you say, "Face me." Now they're in a 45-degree angle. If I want to do a profile, I stand over here and I say, "Turn your body to me this way." So that's how it's done. You can't tell your subject, "Turn your body 45 degrees, turn your body 90 degrees. So we're going to come back to the 45-degree mark. Now, the next thing we're going to do, and you can start to zoom in, Max, a little bit on this. You want to get a little bit closer. Now, bring more of Danielle into the picture. I don't have to see me at all. Now, if you notice, I want you to see this before I pose Danielle. She's sitting comfortably to herself, to herself, but she's slouching, okay? And if you were to say to your subject, "Are you comfortable?" she'll say, "Yes, I'm comfortable." Well, if people are comfortable, they're not posed correctly. So we have to pose her correctly. So how are we going to do this? She saw me do this before, so she kind of has an idea. She has to sit up tall. Now, another thing that happens, if I say sit up tall, Danielle, sit up tall, she still thinks she's tall, but we can make this better. And what we do is we put our hands behind her neck, okay? We don't touch the front because there could be makeup, okay? And we grab people by the neck a little bit, and we just have them come up, okay? Now, what will happen is if she slouches down, I'll do that again, so she won't slouch down. She'll stay up. So we grab her by the neck and pull her up just a little bit, and that straightens up her body, okay? The next thing we're going to do, and again, you can direct people. There are two ways to pose. It's really hands-on or hands-off. Now, there are photographers who never touch their subjects. They direct them. They say, "Well, Danielle, sit up tall and lean forward to me and turn your head to the right," and that's okay. But here's what happens if you're not a hands-on poser, if you don't touch. I can say to Danielle, "Turn your head to the right," but she's not used to hearing that, and she gets confused, and she turns her head this way instead, okay? Well, that's not where I want her to turn it. So now if I ask her to turn her head the other way, she'll get flustered. And then all of a sudden I kind of lose her. It's like, "Oh, I'm getting flustered, I'm turning my head the wrong way." It's much easier to go over to your subject and just grab them gently. Now I'm going to, Max, zoom out again. I want to show you something. Zoom out all the way to see the body. Okay, now I'm going to make sure her body's turned 45 degrees, and I'm going to put my leg, my left leg, next to her knee. And then I'm going to grab her by the neck and pull her up, and I'm going to gently lean her backwards. So I'm pushing her backwards. I'm pushing her body to go backwards. And I'm grabbing her head and I'm turning it straight forward. So what I'm really doing, you can come in close again, what I'm really doing is treating my model like a mannequin, and I'm posing her so that she doesn't have to get flustered and wonder, am I turning my head correctly? Am I turning the wrong way? Am I not sitting up tall enough? And so on. So now I simply put my leg here, push her body back, and her head is straight into the camera, and we have our full face pose. Now the camera is a little off from where I am, so I'm going to turn the body a little bit, and I'm going to bring the head back, and now I have my full face pose. Max, I'm going to come out of there, and you can center right in on here. Okay? There you go. Good. Now, if I were taking Danielle's picture as a real portrait, see her shoulders are in here like this? Well, we need to have her arms out, okay? And we definitely want to see this arm out, okay? It's backwards from the camera. So I don't want to see her arms this way, but now you can zoom into here. Keep zooming in. And what you'll see in the picture is what we call a base. By putting her arms out, we now have a base. If I let her sit this way, it's just a straight picture. So we bring the arms out. Now the arms also give us, well, we call it a base. So we have an arm to lead into the picture, and then come into the face and an arm to lead out. Okay, so we call it, it's an entrance and an exit into the picture. These are a few little details you want to look out for. Okay, now we're not talking about lighting now. We're not going to do lighting. We're going to do lighting later. We're going to do all the poses, and then we're going to do the lighting. All right, so this is our basic full face pose. The body is turned 45 degrees to the camera. The subject is very tall, forward at the belt buckle, and back. So she's leaning forward over her belt buckle. I didn't mention that before. And I pushed her back, and now her head into the camera. Now, Max, come back out of the picture a little bit. Okay, look at the lines in her waist. What we've done is we've created diagonal lines. By leaning her forward, the camera creates diagonal lines. If I have her sit up straight, look at what happens here. If she sits up straight, then her waist lines are straight. But by pushing her forward, we've just created a diagonal. So we lean her forward over the belt buckle. We lean her shoulder back, so she's kind of doing two actions. Now, is this comfortable?
No.
Of course not, but it looks beautiful. The more uncomfortable, the better it looks. And that's really the trick. Now, when she sees the picture finished done, it looks natural. Now, Brian is her friend, and we're going to bring him in a minute, and he's done some modeling for me, and Danielle has seen the pictures. Now, when you look at the pictures, just think, wow, look how simple that is. He looks great, but he was being tortured here. So it's not a comfortable thing to do. We don't care if our subject's comfortable. They're only going to hold this position for a second or two. We're not doing what Danielle's doing now. We're going to take our picture, and we're going to move on. Okay? And we're going to talk a little bit about that later also, how fast you have to work. We're going to go to our next pose. We're going to go to the 2/3 view now.